If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Audio Jungle.
Caroline.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am your host. With us, we have Yolanda Graves-Jefferson, Executive Chef and owner of Blck Catering and Event Planning. Welcome, Yolanda.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you doing?
I am blessed. Thank you. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I am so glad to have this opportunity to talk to you. Everyone, I am talking to my hometown, which is the Quad Cities, Davenport, Iowa. So it's a pleasure to be able to have a woman-owned business being interviewed this evening with me. So Yolanda, can you do me a favor and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Ooh, okay. Yes, my name is Yolanda Jefferson. I'm the executive chef and owner of Blck Catering. I have been cooking professionally since I was 15 years old. I went to culinary school immediately after high school, many, many years ago. I'm the mother of 2 sons. I have one college graduate and one in the process of college graduation, and an athlete. I've been living in the Quad Cities all my life, and I've always loved doing food.
All right. So you said that you've been cooking since you've been about 15. So we're going to backtrack just a little bit here. Explain to me why was that? What inspired you, I guess, to start cooking at 15?
Well, I had started cooking at a young age, like, you're around your mother in the kitchen, doing the regular. Well, most kids like to be in the kitchen, so I've always loved to cook. So it just was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the kitchen. I wanted to be able to be creative, give an artistic side to food, and give it a little bit of something. Because to me, food is art. You can create and you can give a lot of yourself into it if you got that passion and that drive. And it's just something that I've always wanted to do.
Okay, and that's true. I know that throughout the years that I've known you, that I've seen you do your thing, and your cooking is phenomenal. So I understand where you come from and where you're at today, because I've had that opportunity to experience some of what you do within your business. But how many years have you actually been doing the business now?
My actual business or in the culinary field?
Both.
I've been I have to make sure I get this right because I did another interview and I messed it up. But okay. I've been cooking professionally for 32 years.
Okay. And how long have you actually been doing the Black Pearl business?
I have been doing the Black Pearl I've been doing my business itself since 2002 is when I started my catering service. I originally, it was a different name. It was under Mrs. J's Dial Chef was what my original name was. And that was in honor of a chef that I knew that was killed, and it was something that him and I had discussed. And so that was the original name, but I wanted to change it and to give it a little more of me. And the Black Pearl is something that's very distinguished and refined, and what I do is refined, and I wanted my work to match what my logo was. And so that was the change.
Okay, yeah, and I remember that years ago when it used to be the other name. So it has definitely the ring of the tone of the name today does, I think, reflect more of who you are as an individual, and that helps, I think, also balance the business to increase it in the way that you feel is best for you and your customers. So you started in this field, you went to culinary school. Tell me some of the real challenges that you've had trying to build this business throughout the years.
The biggest challenge, not just in my business, but in the culinary field at the time when I started, was just being a female in the culinary field. Now it's not such a big deal because we have a lot of women that want to be chefs. There's a lot of women chefs out here, but they still make it a little tough for you. Some of the men make it a little rough for you, but that would be the biggest challenge. That would definitely be the biggest challenge.
Okay, so it being that you've had those types of challenges, I guess, what type of advice would you give anyone, or especially a woman who may decide that they want to come into this field of business? What would you think that would be easier for her, because you know how this process works?
Just be confident in what you're doing. Know if this is the field of work that you want to do, that you don't allow anyone or anything to deter what it is that you have set in your heart to do. Stand your ground, be positive, and just let your creative juices flow. That's the only thing, because you'll have a lot of men that she's a girl and that's the least of it. I can get in the kitchen and battle with any man toe to toe when it comes to doing this.
And I think it's what amazes me is that you would think in this day and age that you would not have to continue to go through those strives and efforts in order to prove that you are a qualified chef. But I guess that goes with anything that we do as women. We're constantly always having to kind of overprove ourselves about what it is we can and cannot do. But I definitely agree with what your statement was, that, you have to know what your passion is. And, it's okay to get in there and go toe to toe with the next man. But I guess it could be no different than dealing with any other woman that's in the same field, because it is a limited field to some degree. And even though women are constantly being more noticed on it within this field, I still think that you still have to have that balance. So with all this being said, I guess my next question would be, what other pieces of education would you refer beyond doing the culinary school? Because is there any other things that you guys have to continue to be, certified, or what is the qualifications of running a business there in the Quad Cities?
Just make sure you keep your Safe Serve certification up. And it just varies into how deep into what you're doing and what you want to do. If you're just working for someone and you're in the kitchen, it just depends on what levels and where you want to go. So it just varies from different place to different place. And this is a field where people say a lot of chefs move around, and it's because you're constantly picking up knowledge in different areas, and things change so much. It's been 20 something plus years since I was in culinary school. So I couldn't even imagine having to go into a classroom now, because I can just imagine with the way times have changed and the way they do things so different, that there's so many different things, because there are different organizations and things that we had when I was in culinary school that they don't even have in this area anymore. Like Chef de Cuisine of the Quad Cities and different things like that. So they had all those things and they don't have them anymore. So those are the places where you get the certification. American Culinary Federation is another place where you can get different certifications and things that you need to keep up on. So it just varies where you're at, what you're doing, and where you're trying to go with it.
Okay. All right. And that makes sense. I mean, I think, nowadays everybody seems to have a certification of some sort in order to maintain anything in business. So with all that being said too, what is it that the Black Pearl Catering and Event Planning, what is it that you actually provide? What services do you provide?
I come in and do just your basic catering setup. But my catering is a little bit more in depth than what a lot of caterers do. Some caterers just come in, they set up your food and they keep her going. Mm-hmm. I come in, I make sure my tables are set up. I do colors. I have a very large, beautiful presentation. I do private chefs. I go into people's homes and prepare meals for 30 days, and all they have to do is pull them out. I also do a lot of volunteer work in the community where I feed people and different things like that. So Black Pearls Extended is not so much as the event planning part, but definitely the catering part and the personal chef part of it. So I have a lot of clients, actually picking up a few clients throughout the country that are having me come to different areas to do some things. So I'm in a lot of areas as long as there's some food involved. So
yeah, because you do love to cook. I admit that. You always notice how you post things, on Facebook every now and then, and through some other avenues. So I guess one of the other questions I have then is, tell me what you feel like your greatest success has been that you've experienced doing these business all these years, whether it's just in the food, loving just doing the food that you do, or other parts of it. Explain that to the listeners.
My biggest success is being able to provide for someone that's not able to provide for themselves. I can cook food for a millionaire and it wouldn't give me as much satisfaction. It's going to give me the money, right. Most definitely, but it's not going to give me the satisfaction that it would give me preparing a meal for someone who is not able to prepare a meal for themselves, or someone that's going through a struggle and they're doing benefits. Because I do a lot of that. If people are having benefits, my expertise is food, dealing anything involving food. So that's where I step in when that need is met, when need is to be met. So that's my biggest accomplishment. And I do an event, which I started 3 years ago, to raise awareness for sickle cell anemia. I call it the Culinary Throwdown to raise awareness for sickle cell anemia. So that is another thing that I feel that is a big accomplishment for me, because it's not a big deal. I don't have an opportunity to give a whole lot of money, but it gives me an opportunity to raise awareness for something that is close and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's important. And being, like you said, you're part of the community, and that's what is important. It's not always about the money. It's so interesting that we're having this conversation, because when I think about what you just said, when it comes to being a part of the community and realizing it's about not just on money, I was talking to some high schoolers earlier today doing a speaking engagement, and most people, when they come into business, the first thing they think about is that it's always about money. And like I try to explain to them, and just what you're saying is that at the end of the day, money is a necessity, but it's not always something that makes you happy. It's the event of what you're doing, that passion that you have for whatever that business is, and you're providing it back in the community in a different way. That's really the most important part about being in business. And so what you do with the love of food and how you present it, and you can tell it comes from your heart, and that's the key thing. So,
and that's the main thing, and that is the most important thing to me. And I actually had this conversation with some college graduates just the other day, and I let them know, I said, no matter what you do, make sure that you're happy, and make sure that when God gifts you something, that you're able to gift it back to someone else. Because if you have a gift that God has given you and you're not utilizing it for a purpose of building in your community, or in a community of any sort, then your talent is void. It doesn't matter how gifted you are if you're not giving back and doing something to help someone else.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And I think that most people who've been in business for a long period of time have that understanding. A lot of times when you're new, it's all about just trying to make it. And, making it is, like I said, is not really based off of the dollar figure. It's about the longevity and realizing that what you're doing is touching the people that you strive to touch in the beginning anyway. And that's the key here. So as a part of this interview, I always like to ask this question too, where you have other women, like I said, who may desire to want to do what you're doing. If you had to give any other advice, what would that be?
Very good question. Just stay true to yourself. Just stay true to who you are when you're doing this. And what I say by that is that the limelight can catch people off guard. You know, I've been interviewed. I've done events for some famous people. I've cooked for Gwendolyn Brooks. These are people I cooked for long before I ever even turned the age of 20. Gwendolyn Brooks, Andrew Young, Brooke Shields. And then after that, I've cooked for, just major, Tiger Woods. I've cooked for some major, amazing people. Stay true to yourself because the limelight can catch you. I don't care about, it was exciting cooking for all those people. Don't get me wrong, but if me being in the limelight takes away from me doing good for someone who is in need, then I don't need the limelight. Always stay true to yourself and to your purpose. And your purpose is to give back what God has given you.
Amen. And you got that right. And it's amazing. I didn't realize that after all these years, a lot of the connections that you have made and the people you have touched, like you said, on every level. And that's important, what you just said, that being humble is always, something that we should do no matter whether you're in business or not. Being able to get up every day and know that you're here, there's a purpose for why you're here, and you have to be thankful for that. And that's a blessing within itself. So the other question I have for you tonight, tell us how the listeners can get a hold of you.
Well, I'm in the process right now of putting together a website, but until the website is completed, you can reach me on Facebook under Yolanda Graves-Jefferson, or look me up under Blck Pro Catering, and make sure you don't add the A to the Black because that gets people lost every time. Or you can contact me at 309-631-1776 if you're interested in catering service. And yes, I do travel, and I promise you, no matter where I come, no matter what I do, I always make sure it's a culinary experience that you'll never forget.
Wow. And that's great to know because, eventually I'll be having a great networking event. So maybe we need to talk about you coming on down here to the Washington, D.C. metro area and whipping up some of that good food that you have. That would be a great opportunity to get you.
I'll be ready to come at any time.
That's great. That is great. So we'll definitely have to talk further about that. And the other thing, is there any last words that you feel like you want to share with any of our listeners this evening?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to do this interview. I feel very humbled that you thought enough of me and thought enough of my business to have me interviewed for the listeners. I just want the listeners once again to know, just be humble and love what you do. Don't get into any career or anything because a person has pushed you to do something, because a lot of times people are in careers and they spend 100 years doing something that they really didn't care about. Right. Everybody's like, you should go back to school to be a teacher, do this, do that. No, I do exactly what I love to do. And I always, and this might sound a little morbid, but please understand that if I was to leave here tomorrow or to walk out of from where I'm at and leave here today, I would be blessed because I've done absolutely everything I wanted to do. I'm happy in my career. Yes, I've had some bumps, some stubbles. I've had some struggles in it, but I'm happy to be a chef. I'm happy to be able to provide food. So always be happy and always just do what it is that you love in your heart, that you know is going to make you happy and provide somewhere else.
Well, I couldn't have ended this in a better way. What you said is absolutely the truth. We are always told to conform, so to speak, and I think it's always a blessing that when you know what it is that you want to do in your life and you have that niche and you want to get it out there, you should be able to do that. And so, believe in who you are, and you've taken that step and reaching out to many other people in the same way. Like I said, your food has a heart. It's not just about feeding. And I think that's the most important part of what you do in your business. So again, like I said, I really do appreciate you being able to take the time to spend with me this evening to tell your story. And In the meantime, for everybody else, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me. You can find me every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. You can also look me up on the WSBI website at www.wsbillc.com. You can also visit me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. But until then, you all enjoy the rest of your evening.